I think the postman just rung my bell, which means, yeah, cool, look at that. This should be some pedals that Toole Automotive have just sent me for the Maserati. And I'm expecting these to be really cool. So let's get them unboxed and then go and fit them. Right, so let's have a look at these. These will replace the stock standard rubber pedals that you get on all the 4.2s that look really quite manky and boring. Some of the later Maseratis, the MC I think, come with aluminium pedals as standard. But yeah, mine unfortunately I've got the very, very sort of boring rubber pedals in there. So let's see what I've got here. That's it in there. Oh, cool, they've given me a pen. I always like a good pen. So what I got in the parcel was a nice cool little air freshener, which will be good, my pen, and 2 pedals and some screws to fit them with. And one of the things I really should mention here, full disclosure, is that these have been supplied to me for free to do a review on. And yeah, that's a bit of a surprise to me. Basically, in all my time on YouTube, I've never received anything, never gotten anything, and of course I don't have enough subscribers or views in the year to actually earn any money. So this is like the first time I've got something in return for my labours, which is just fantastic. I'm really chuffed about. Right, so this is the brake pedal. Wow, look at that. All in aluminium. Nice and drilled. Oh, it says Toole Automotive on the back. That looks really nice, doesn't it? That's going to be so much better than these horrible sort of rubber pedals. And my rubber pedals, they're getting old as well, so they're wearing away. Yeah, cool. Look at that. That's the accelerator pedal. Fantastic. That's going to make such a difference to it. Just make it look so clean and tidy down in the footwell. Because as I say, my pedals, they've actually worn quite badly. Yeah, I'm chuffed. These are going to be cool. So for once, these should actually be quite an easy job to fit. I'm really looking forward to getting these in.
What are those then?
Foot pedals for the Maserati.
Oh, cool.
What do you think?
Of aluminium?
Yep.
That's cool. Much better than your old rubber ones.
Yeah, it should look a lot nicer, shouldn't it?
Yeah, even says Toole Automotive on the back.
Yeah, great. So it's all a bit messy out here because the Volvo failed the MOT on a CV gator. So she's been up in the air all week with waiting for parts like control arms, which are incidentally quite expensive. And the poor old Maserati's been the daily driver and stepped in and done a brilliant job, but now she's really, really dirty for it. Don't believe all those stupid YouTube videos that have been going on about Maseratis being unreliable and they break all the time. Load of rubbish. They're fantastic cars. So look, that's the accelerator pedal. So you just bolt it on like that. And if you look, this is the problem as you get brake pedals get older. Look, you get all this wear and tear and they just look really manky. So with this in place, it's going to look like that. And that's going to look a lot nicer, isn't it? I can take all this off. Brilliant. Well, the Volvo finally passed its MOT, so it's time to have a look at these pedals. Hey, this looks cool. It just doesn't get old popping out here and just seeing us out here, even when she's filthy and dirty like this. But anyway, so what I've got in here, I had to start having a little bit of a look earlier. Always got to watch my door on this wall. So, yeah, these pedals. Now, one of the problems I have is that I've got big feet. It's not particularly a problem unless you're trying to find shoes. It can be rather difficult finding shoes. But anyhow, sometimes when I go from accelerator to brake, I end up touching both of them at the same time. So I want to make sure that this gap here is no less than that. And preferably a little bit more. Obviously, other people have a similar sort of problem because it's really worn on this edge here. I mean, obviously, you're going to go from 1 foot here to 1 foot here. And, you know, being an automatic, you're going to be flipping like that. But I just find it a bit too close.
It's not particularly a problem, by the way, but I've got an option here. I've got an ability to change things. So I'm measuring this, and I've got, at the base of, maybe, no, let's go on the center line of the pedal, because the new brake pedal is longer in this direction. So on the center line of the pedal, I've got 5 centimeters. So if I can make sure that I keep that 5 centimeters there, that would be great. One of the ways I think I can do that is when I install this, it's slightly bigger than the pedal. If I make sure that this is favoring this edge, it's tight on this edge, rather than directly in the center where I'd lose a millimeter or so, I just make sure I keep that distance. Likewise, when this goes on here, I can actually favor a little bit over this side and just make sure that I'm not going to reduce that distance between the two pedals. So I think the first one to do is to fit the accelerator pedal. Okay, what I'm going to do to line this up and measure this up is I'm going to stick it on there, and I'm going to use a nice little pen just to mark. It's a black pedal, but you can see that you'll easily make a little bit of a mark. The countersink screws that have been supplied, I've looked at them, and basically you want a drill that's around about the width of the internal bit in between the threading, maybe slightly less. So I've got a 2.5mm drill bit, and that will allow this to cut in nicely into the hole, the threaded bit, and it will just expand, push out slightly, and hold it tight on the center of the shaft of the screw. So what I've got to do is I've got to figure out where I'm going to screw through. Now, of course, this is a fancy pedal. It's got all these electronics down the bottom. I don't want to take it apart to find out what it looks like inside. But putting my fingers behind, I can feel that I really don't want any screws below this halfway mark. Now, the thing is that means that this bit down here won't be held by screws. My solution to that is that I'm going to use my trusty Sikaflex 221. Now, I've used this to glue in aircraft canopies and all kinds of things, and it's a really, really strong adhesive. So I'm really happy with just using lines of Sikaflex in between these countersink screw holes, lines like that along the base bit here, and I know that will glue this on here really, really well, and then the screws can go higher up, where, as I say, if I screw through, I'm not going to screw into anything critical on the back of the pedal. Down here there's some sort of electronics, I just don't want to get it wrong. Don't forget, if you screw in here and then find that you don't have full throttle, or because you can't push the accelerator pedal down anymore, or because the screw's in the way, or if you were to screw down here and go through something important, even a second-hand one of these is like 50 to 100 pounds, and it might need coding to the car, as in a proxy alignment. If I don't know, I mean, modules like parking modules need proxy alignment, so I wouldn't be surprised if changing this would require a proxy alignment. So I'm going to use my trusty, lovely Bosch drill. It's a nice slow speed drill. It's great for doing stainless steel and stuff like that, because it's got a 2-speed gearbox. And it runs very, very variable speed slow as well, so you can get it really when it's slow. Obviously, a smaller drill would probably be easier, but this is the drill that I have. Don't use the hammer setting. So what I think I'm going to do, because I don't like getting things wrong, is I'm now going to put that screw in a bit, and then I can use the pedal thing as an actual template.
Now, to showcase my wonderful video editing skills, I'm going to stick in some gratuitous slow-mo of the car.
So I'm just checking my line up here. That feels good there. I've got it probably about maybe half a millimeter over the edge. You can't see it. It just means I know that I'm keeping the distance from this pedal.
I could put some music in at this point, really, but I can't figure out which ones you can use and not get copyright infringement, so I was thinking of singing a little bit, but yeah, perhaps not. Perhaps I won't do that.
Right, so I've done all of that, and I'm just countersinging these holes slightly because I noticed the one that I did screw in had sort of created a bit of a ripple that might just hold the plate off slightly. So I'm just running an ever so slight countersink, but ever so slight, just to take the immediate ½ millimeter or something off. Ever so slight, just to give it that slight bit, so that when the plastic expands around the screw, it doesn't like hold the pedal off of the bit there. Now what I've got to do is use a little bit of acetone, or you could use isopropyl alcohol, I don't know, isopropyl or whatever it is, just to clean the dirt off the pedal and make sure it's good for running the glue onto. I tried acetone, by the way, on the sticky buttons on the car. Good idea, didn't really work. Isopropyl, whatever it is, doesn't particularly work wonderfully either, by the way. I think it works on some of them, but not on others. For some reason, it depends on which one you're working on, which bit.
Don't spill that acetone anywhere either. Make a right mess.
Now, of course, if you're looking at this and thinking, oh, I think you should have a screw lower down, you know, it needs to be firmly fitted. Well, for one thing, the screws up top will firmly fit it. The Sikaflex will probably make it almost unremovable without damaging this. And then remember, of course, that here's your brake pedal. And look what happens here. It comes off that. It's not even glued on. It's just slotted on. So this should be perfect for this, I think. So I will quickly just do a little bit of the acetone on the back of this, just make sure there's no grease from fingerprints to get in the way. It's a slightly rough, not rough surface, it's a brush surface on the back of the pedal, so that's good enough. Hopefully my Sikaflex hasn't gone off.
Now in truth, there's absolutely no reason really to use the Sikaflex. 4 screws up the top of the pedal is completely sufficient enough to hold the pedal in place and stop it from moving around in the future. I just go over the top of these things. If you are like me and you decide to use something like Sikaflex, the good thing with Sikaflex is before it's cured, you can use white spirit to clean it off. But do keep it off your hands because it's got isocyanates in it.
So I'm happy with that one. It's glued up here. It's on there good. Oh, I better make sure it goes all the way down. And yep, I can see it hitting the stops there. Can I? Is there a stop? But yeah, it's definitely going all the way down. So I'm happy with that one. So this one is going to go on. Now remember what I said, it was 5 centimeters. So I want to maintain that 5 centimeters on the center line of the pedal. Without the rubber on there, I've got 6. So I'm wondering if I could stick this at 6, and that would give me another centimeter clearance, which probably would make all the difference. Judging by the wear on the rubber, that's around about 1 centimeter as well. So you can imagine that if this was 1 centimeter over, you probably wouldn't have had this wear on the edge. So if I can get it on like that, there's only one thing, and it is annoying to me, and that is if I do that, these are going to be aluminium color, whereas these are all black because there's nothing behind them. They're open to the thing. So what I could do is I could just paint a little bit of black paint down here, and then it'll look fine. And then you won't see these 3 being open like that. So what I'm going to go for on this as well is I'm going to go for a screw there, screw there, screw there, and screw there. One point to note on this though, if I do that, these ones, what I've been supplied with is countersink bolts like this with nuts on the end. These 3, the aluminium's nice and flat, and I can drill through and put a nut on the other end. This one here is right in the middle of where the pedal comes down. So if I was to put that one in there, I certainly can't get a nut on the other side. But as it happens, I was thinking about this last night, and 2 things occurred to me. For one thing, this is aluminium. So I can, just happen to have one that I bought years ago, I can drill and tap the hole. When you get these off of eBay, this is a Presto one, so it's a good one. When you get these off of eBay, quite often they come with the correct drill. So this is an M5 tap. It's like that. Where's the camera on? There, it looks like this. An M5 for a 5mm bolt uses a 4mm drill first. So what you do basically is you drill your 4mm hole, and then you take your tap with a little thing that can go on the here, which could just be a spanner if that's all you've got, and then you tap the hole and it puts a thread into the hole. If I do that, I can fit this right there, so it's flush with the edge of the brake pedal here. I can fit that in there nicely, and as I say, paint black behind these 3 holes, and then that will be far over. Right, I've had a little break. Nice cup of tea, chocolate. No health stuff here. No, eat proper stuff here. Fattening stuff. Plenty of sugar. Plenty of energy and all that. Anyhow, so back here again. So I did, before I went for my lunch, I did just start doing that. I drilled the hole off camera because I had this innate suspicion that if I did it on camera, the drill would break again. So I feel like I was cursed by the camera. Anyway, so I've just drilled the 4mm hole, and that's the tap. And I'm just going to run probably a bit of WD-40 to give it a little bit of lubrication, run that in, and then I can figure out where the other 3 holes go and drill them. Right, so what I've got to try and do is I've got to try and just run this in. So I was a little bit concerned about drilling into that wider part of the pedal, but I found some pictures of pedals on eBay, and the original way that they fitted the MC pedal plates on was actually by drilling and tapping the holes like that from the factory. That picture is actually an original pedal, so if it's good enough for Maserati, it's good enough for me. I'm going to have to cut these bolts down, I think, or cut this bolt down on this one. Because what I've done is I've done a blind hole. So essentially I've drilled only down like about, how deep was it? About 15mm into the bracket. But because this unfortunately is a tapping tap that doesn't have thread high up here, it means that in a blind hole it won't go that deep. But this is deep enough, I think, for what I want it to do. So that's about as far deep as the screw's going to go, and that is about 5mm deep, and I'm happy with that. So the law of this is that your thread should really be the same diameter. The depth, sorry, should be the same diameter as the thread. When I fit this pedal, I will actually use Loctite on that hole as well, because what Loctite will do quite nicely is it will seal the thread and keep all the dirt out, so it will stop that corrosion between stainless and aluminium, and it will make it easier to undo in the future, which might be a bit counterintuitive, but it's the corrosion that tends to jam bolts up. Now I just need to mark up these 3 holes here, and I can drill them out, and I might very well tap those holes as well. I'll have a bit of a think on it. I might, instead of drilling them 5mm, I might just drill them to 4 and then tap the holes and thread in the bolts on those as well. I will have to have a think. I think that's a good cue to go and make another cup of tea and a nice bit of chocolate. Right, I've done all 4 holes now, and they're all nicely tapped, and they're looking really nice. There's something quite sort of pristine and satisfying about a nicely tapped hole. It's slightly countersunk as well, just to clean the swarf off. Anyhow, I'm going to use a little bit of sandpaper down here, because it's here that we're going to have the 3 holes that would show through otherwise. Now, if you were doing this and you didn't want to use paint, a nice thick permanent marker would actually have the same effect. Unfortunately, all my permanent markers are half dried out, and I've got some smooth right here. Normally aluminium, you should use an etch primer on it. I know that smooth right does actually kind of work on aluminium. And now my microphone's failed. Now, in reality, no video of mine is complete without a microphone failure or mess up. Anyway, here I am demonstrating the fact that I'm too lazy to either find a paintbrush or to clean out the paintbrush afterwards. I'm just using my finger to apply the smooth right, and it works surprisingly well. And then I got the hoover out to clean up, and I found this little panel. And look, there's a little module underneath the carpet. Really bizarre place to stick it. But with everything cleaned up and the paint dry, I could finally stick my pedal on as I'm doing here. So here is the final product. They are all fitted and in there like that. And I think they look really, really good. And I'm really happy with the way the black paint's worked, because you really can't see that that's black paint. They look identical to the holes all the way around. So literally, you now got this nice black holes all the way around the brake pedal, and then you've got the silver ones here, the stainless steel screws. Unfortunately, I've left a little bit of permanent marker from marking on there. I better clean that up. I actually couldn't find my Loctite, so I'm going to have to come back and unscrew it anyway, and but I'll clean that up when I do that, and that little bit that's just on the edge there, and that'll be good. But I think they look really, really nice. I think that's a really good option. Cool. Of course, I do actually need the final input from the person whose opinion matters most. So that's the pedals all installed. I like them, but what really matters is the opinions of a 13-year-old boy, because that's where all our ideas of what's cool and cars and everything forms. So what do you think, my boy?
Well, I think they look really cool. The contrast between the shiny aluminium pedals and the grey and the black interior is really nice. So I think they look really cool.
Great. The boy says yes. Well, if this video has been useful to you and you've enjoyed watching it, please consider liking and subscribing.
And also, link in the description down below if you want to get your hands on some of these accessory pedals.
Cool. Thanks very much. Oh my God. Now I can't get him out. Oi! Come on, we gotta go.
What was that?
Come on, we gotta go.
Oh.
Even the old man grumble as he gets out the car, look.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting a bit older now.
Yeah. And a bit fatter.
Right?
And a bit fatter.
Well, I mean,